Hoennshy by Fenix. Chapter 16. Final chapter. In the Dragon's Den. Shrieks erupted from the frenzied crowd as dragon-mounted guards circled around them. The guards struck quickly, felling several before the group could retreat. Twilight twisted her head, looking from the panicked creatures about her to the gallows where the stallion and its diminutive black dragon had already disappeared from view. Heart thudding against her chest, she wove around the crowd, narrowly avoiding the spearheads and blades the guards pierced haphazardly into them. Without a second thought, Twilight pushed off another mare in an attempt to change direction, sending the mare directly to a guard. With a growl of indignation, the guard shoved a blood-headed spear into the mare's gut, sending her to the ground. Twilight watched as the guard screamed at the scared pony, barking accusations of insult and battery, before striking her again and again. Twilight quickly swallowed her guilt and broke away from the group, scurried into one of the alleyways. She stopped just within the safety of the alley, peering back to bear witness of the end of the guard's work. Citizens lay scattered across the ground, heaving and crying out as the guards loomed over them. Several of the injured were picked up by other citizens and laid across the dragon, prophet of regalia, and the guards the dragons bore. In short order, even stragglers were being escorted to the front of the meeting ground. I watched them closely for some sign of Applejack or Rarity, praying that neither had been afflicted with a frenzy. But all proved to be strangers in the street, and she was left deserted, save for the scattered belongings lost in the chaos. She tucked her head back into the alley as the victorious guards marched by. When the last soldier passed, she leaned her haunches back against the wall and slid down until she landed with a wet plop in the snow. For the first time since she had left Equestria, Twilight was completely alone. She scanned the streets again in the hopes of finding her friends bounding towards her, but the streets were empty. Those that remained, staying hidden inside their homes and shops. She wanted to call out their names. She wanted to yell out amidst the silence, but knew it was too much of a risk. Names like Risen, Ballin, Kalen, and Estrus were all commonplace, expected in Phoenicia, while Applejack and Rarity were objects of suspicion. Without any other options, Twilight slunk away into the alleyways in search of a warm place to stay tonight. The snow had nearly stopped falling as the clouds dispersed to reveal the oranges and reds of the setting sun, giving her a moment of repose before she felt the knot tighten in her stomach. The image of the mare being knocked down and beaten by the guard played over in her head, each iteration becoming more twisted than the last. As she came to a crossroads in the back alleys, she put a hoof to the wall and felt herself pushing that mare into the guard. The memory haunted her senses, and immediately snapped her hoof back. Even with the clearing clouds, the cold winds persisted, falling through the alleyways, glancing at her face as she pressed onwards. Her body was racked with exhaustion, something that she had been able to ignore amongst her friends, but now stood at the forefront of her thoughts. Slowly, she hobbled along and hugged the wall until she heard voices fill the air once more. Gas-powered lights began to shine from the windows as the hour turned from dusk to night. Several ponies here and there conversed, donned in clean garb that reflected the new district. She slowly trotted into the town and down the road, looking towards the alleys for any signs of where her friends may have gone. Her eyes grew heavy as she wandered, making it difficult to keep them open as her thoughts shifted towards finding a place to sleep that night. Where are they? She thought as the last of the snow floated down from the sky. She was surrounded by Phoenicians on every side, all of them ignoring her as they passed. Only the streets were illuminated now with the light from the shops and lantern posts, leaving the alleyways and other unpopular areas black as pitch. She sighed in exhaustion, staring at the ground with a defeated gaze. Her head hung low, so she walked slowly, keeping her cloak draped around her. She saw neither hide nor hair of her friends amongst the crowd, bringing her focus to attention in front of her. Before she could even begin to clear her head, however, she heard a soft, webbing, popping sound. As she peered beneath her cloak, curing marks slowly appeared on her flank. Twilight knew this would leave Applejack and Rarity only a short time before they too would be at risk of exposure, sending a chill down her already frozen spine. Never felt more guilty, more alone in all her life. The flaring pain in her side only served as a reminder of the danger that she had thrust them all into. I should have waited for them, she thought, before stopping and placing a hoof onto her face in dismay. Before she could berate herself further, she looked up and saw a sign bolted into a 3-story tall building that read in an orderly carved red letters. Lacking the energy to even entertain the possibility of another option, Twilight stumbled into the door and weakly pushed it open, the hinge creaking as it swung outwards. As she entered the inn, Twilight nearly melted beneath the rush of warm air caressing her frozen, wearied body. She let off a gentle sigh as the warmth of a roaring fire soothed her from its hearth, earning her a stare from the lone mare tending the desk. A few patrons who sat on the cushioned chairs in the lobby looked up at her as she approached the counter, but only paid her a cursory glance before resuming their chatter. Twilight placed a sinking hoof onto the desk before looking up at the mare who wore a stern scowl. Twilight opened her mouth to talk, but the cold and shock of recent events stole her voice as she tried to speak. She resorted to only looking up at the mare's brown eyes, watching them dance around puzzled. "How many?" she asked, rummaging through the open door. "Just one." Twilight nodded. She looked over her shoulder where Applejack and Rarity would have been standing if they were still here with her. One of the patrons, looking over a scroll, stared at her incredulously, and quickly turned to find an iron key on the counter before her. "Oi, it'll be 2 pieces." "Will these do?" she asked, taking into her bag pulled out 2 bits. She placed them on the counter, watching with a light head as the mare examined the bits. She only prayed that she'd be allowed a warm place to sleep for the first time in nearly a week. "Well, these ain't any clothes I've ever seen, but they seem real enough. I'll be down to the Shade Market tomorrow, and these aren't worth gold. I'll have you arrested for thievery. You hear?" she threatened. "The Shade Market?" Twilight took the key, holding the cold melon in her sole of her hoof. "Ain't from around here, are you? It's 2 streets past the Twin Spires, and deep in the belly of the wind. Mind your way and your manners. You shouldn't look like garbage when you get there. Those rogues will take notice," she explained, gesturing to Twilight's ragged attire. "I'm the friend you need." Hey, I don't look like garbage!" Twilight protested. The mare only smirked and turned to fill out a ledger on the counter behind her. Twilight sighed to herself, then trotted towards the flight of red-carpeted stairs near the far wall. Twin Spires, belly of the wind. Those aren't directions. Those are just riddles, Twilight thought as she reached out to the top of the stairs and walked down the hallway. Sure enough, she found herself at a door at the end of a clean, nicely furnished hallway. She looked down at her key and saw the number 207 engraved on it, before looking at the door in front of her, seeing the same number. At least her business practices are better than her directions. After finding her room, Twilight slid the key into the brass doorknob and opened it. It was much roomier than she expected. A fireplace slid past the front of the large plush bed that lay in the middle of the room. A candle sat on the oaken nightstand before the bed, and as a window with a floral pattern change greeted her in the far wall, it looked out to be a decent view of the street. She entered and placed her bag on the floor, rubbing at the furrows that had dug into her hide, before plopping on the fluffy bed. It had been so long since she had slept on a proper bed that she sunk right in and refused to move, adjusting herself to sink further in. Before she could come too comfortable, however, she still had a promise to Rarity to keep. She sat up, slowly scooted off the bed, closed the door, and magically sparked the logs into a blazing fire. Twilight sat and watched the flames dance as smoke curled into a chimney above, letting the warm light and heat cast away every last ounce of cold that clung to her body. She closed her eyes and focused on Fluttershy and Pinkie, hoping they weren't asleep or possibly worse off. Not a moment later, she felt the twins that signaled a connection, allowing her to breathe a small sigh of relief. "Fluttershy? Pinkie? Can you hear me?" she asked silently. It took a few moments, but she finally heard Pinkie gasp, and Fluttershy let out a startled meep that couldn't come from any pony but her. "Twilight, is that you? I'm so glad you're all right," Fluttershy said, something shaken a bit more unearthed. "How's everything been there?" "Did you find the book yet?" Pinkie asked in her usual excited tone. "No, not yet. Everything's fine here, though," she lied, her voice bringing back the guilt she had swallowed back in the Phoenician forest. "How are things there?" "They're fine," Fluttershy said. "Things been getting a lot stranger here. We did find someone who looked exactly like you, Twilight." "Yeah, she's really strange, but you like her. She studies a lot and is obsessed with books as you are. Isn't they're all about rocks?" "Kinda like my sister," Pinkie chimed in. "We've been able to do so much since we last talked. We sailed on a boat, explored a cave, battled this crazy stallion and a gigantic sea monster." "Wait, you did what?" Twilight interrupted, perturbed by just how nonchalantly Pinkie had let that slip. "Sea monster? Was it a hydra? Kraken? Scylla? We were trying to be quiet, but if you're in danger, we could just—" "You don't have to worry. We're all fine," Fluttershy said, striking conviction. "We're headed for a volcano now to find the stallion what the Gyarados could be. Don't want you to risk yourself to get out any faster." "All right, I'll stick to the plan." What's a Gyarados? And why did he travel to a volcano? Twilight asked herself aloud, swallowing her curiosity and continued. Has anything else happened that I should know about? I don't know if this is important, but Pinky and I shared a dream a few nights ago. Fluttershy grew softer and more anxious, giving Twilight cause for concern. But I really shouldn't. It's not important. Tell me, please, Twilight said, her guilt and worry settling together in the pit of her stomach. Uh, okay. Well, both Pinky and my dream started out fine. I was in the meadow with forest creatures, and Pinky was flying through the clouds. After a few minutes, the grass and trees withered, and a loud shriek came from behind me. The clouds turned into a nasty black storm for me. Then that scream sounded like it was coming straight towards me, Pinky explained. I looked back, and there was a large black creature with talons and blue eyes that flew after me. I tried to run away. Did you say talons and blue eyes? Twilight interrupted, her own dream racing to the forefront of her mind. Yeah, it had giant wings, and even a beak. I had to sit to the side of the boat the entire night just to get my mind off of it. Pinky explained. What did it do? Did it hurt you? Well, it raced towards me, grabbed my neck and dug its claws into me. After that, I woke up, Pinky said. Pila's breathing instantly became later as the words sank in. Their dreams didn't exactly match hers, nor each other's, but the unity grid analog was still prominent and clear in all three. Oh, I won't worry about Black Rabbit. His music's awesome. My apologies. Could you two hold on just for a second? Without waiting for a response, she severed the connection and promptly dumped the contents of her salad back onto the floor. She shook it. Once has a few apples, Celestia's letter, element of magic, a canteen filled with water, the old Phoenician storybook dropped out, before catching in midair one particular item. The spellbook she had carried with her from Equestria, the one that contains the telepathy spell. Tearing through the pages, she found the spell running through her hoof over the words. Once, twice, thrice she read it over before she found it. Small pages in the bottom of the page, little more than a footnote. The caster links his or her mind with the ones that she contacts, transporting their feelings with the ones he or she links with. She read aloud. The host may permanently sever the connection at any time if the link becomes too dangerous, but she'll never be able to re-establish the link for several weeks thereafter. She hunched over and placed her hand on her host, panicking as she thought of her options. If I severed the connection, my only link would be with Rainbow, but would that place her in the same danger as the others? No, this is too valuable. I'll just have to be more careful. Reluctantly, she closed the book and threw it into the pile of saddlebag contents before taking a shuddering breath and skimming towards the roaring fire. Sorry, I needed to look something up. Okie dokie, Piggy said, her voice a bit distorted as the lake solidified. Our Rarity and Applejack, having fun in the city? Twilight gulped, feeling her knees buckle under their own weight. I lost him a few hours ago. There was an attack and we were scared. I'm alone here at an inn. I don't know if they're together or apart, but I couldn't find them anywhere. A weight felt like it was pressing on her chest as she spoke. Afraid to think about what could be happening to them. It's worse here than I imagined. Much worse. Oh, can you talk to them like you're talking to us? Fluttershy asked, her voice thick with worry. I can't. I just... She paused, hanging her head. I know I'll find them. Good luck, Piggy said, tone matching Fluttershy's. Just don't do anything dangerous, okay? I... Just please stay safe, Twilight said as small willing tears formed in her eyes. We will, Fluttershy said, before Twilight heard the connection cut, leaving her only to count sound crackling fire. Slowly, Twilight stood and trudged over to her bag. She grabbed it and placed it near the side of the bed before falling into a plush comforter, then threw off her cloak, letting it crumble to the floor. Looking back on her flank, she recast the spell to rid herself of her key mark before turning towards the window. Silently, she laid, listening to the sound of her own heartbeat and the conversation that resonated in her mind. As the hours ticked away, the sounds of city life gave way to silence. Twilight continued to lay motionless. On the feather bed, wrapped in a warmth she thought to keep her mind blissfully blank as her body recovered. The last flicker of the flame died out on the hearth, the little wood more than a chark of blackened charcoal. The room was left pitch black and silent. Broken moments later lay a soft sound, the sound of sobbing. A loud commotion erupted from downstairs, causing Twilight to toss and turn in a stubborn refusal to wake. Sunlight filled the room as the noise from the busy street seeped through the walls, making things harder for her to lay in bed. Eventually, she gave in and sat up, wiping the sleep from her eyes before scooting off the bed. She looked back. She saw the large wet spot on the pillow, returning all the feelings that had led her to the previous night's breakdown. But she quickly brushed it aside. She knew that she'd have an easier time now that the sun was up again, an easier time finding her friends. She hurriedly donned her cloak and levitated into her bag before exiting the room. The door shut behind her. She stood in the hall, digging through her bag for the room key. She smiled as her hoof touched, fizzing out, crying a cool melt between her teeth before trying down the hall. As she descended the stairway, she found herself above a large crowd of ponies gathering in the inn's lobby. Gingerly, she waded through this massive crowd to reach the counter, bumping into several of them, drawing angry looks. They weren't as noble looking as the ponies he had been populating the lobby the night before. Their bodies wrapped in leather and steel, while their manes appeared coarse and unshorn. She silently stepped around them, before a white mare with pallid purple hair, tear cloak stopped in her tracks.
I knew it was you! I had my doubts earlier, but it really is you!
Rarity exclaimed, wrapping her tired forelegs around Twilight.
It's so wonderful to see a friendly face.
I'm glad to see you, Twilight said with a warm smile as she embraced her friend. She took a deep breath and sighed happily before nuzzling Rarity's cheek, feeling the weight of her worries vanish.
How did you find me? Where were you? After the guards began to attack, I ran into the back streets and waited until every pony was gone before I dared to move. I made my way to the alleys before I found you trotting in here. I tried asking for a key to where you were staying, but you wouldn't budge, even for a hoofful of bits.
She escorted Twilight through the crowd and sat her down on a dark oak couch in front of the fireplace.
What's happened over there? Reggie's toes were shaking. Did you see anything?
Twilight leaned down and hung her head, looking down at the floorboards.
It was a stallion. They hanged him. Maimed his body.
She grasped Rarity's hoof and drug her head up, watching Rarity's eyes fill with worry. Twilight told her the rest of the details. The way the stallion hung limply from the gallows, the cuts on his flank where a cutie mark should have been. She looked to find Rarity with a hoof in her mouth, aghast.
I don't think we're safe at all here, but we can't rush through this. Everything depends on us being as careful as possible. Why? Applejack's missing. Fluttershy, Rainbow, and Pinkie are still trapped in that awful world. Time is of the essence, Twilight. Why couldn't you contact me like you do with Fluttershy? Perhaps we can find Applejack and fix this horrid mess quickly if you just... I can't! Can't you put more danger than I already have?
Twilight blurted out, Rarity's jaw snapping just short of the outburst.
I contacted them, just like you wanted. How are they?
Rarity asked, leaning forward with a hopeful gaze.
Are they safe? They're fine, but Pinkie told me that she and Fluttershy shared a dream. Not exactly the same dream, but they shared similar elements. Is that the problem, darling?
She placed the hoof on top of Twilight's.
You're sinking.
Remember when I woke up when I left screaming after we left Sephiroth, and Applejack was carrying me through the Outlands?
I had a nightmare similar to the ones that Pinkie and Fluttershy had.
Twilight told her the entirety of the dream, about the subconscious link that she had with them, watching as the color drained from Rarity's already pale face. Twilight sputtered as she shuddered as she told it, mind fraught with worry, wondering how scared Fluttershy and Pinkie must have been. To her knowledge, they had never borne witness to the violence, let alone the bloodshed that she had before the harrowing nightmare. Now Fluttershy's memories twisted, and inherited Twilight's torment left her feeling more miserable than she already had. She simply inhaled and held her head high, trying to feign confidence as Rarity shook her head and frowned.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
Rarity asked, twin disappointment in her voice.
We are all part of this, Twilight. You simply cannot be hiding things like this from us. I'm sorry. With everything that's happened, I didn't want to worry of you, either of you, more than I had to.
Twilight shook free her hoof and placed it on Rarity's. Glancing together, she looked at her with a smile.
But from now on, no more secrets. Good. Now let's have some breakfast. I am positively famished.
You know, I just realized that's something I rarely see or find or ever do on this show.
A Rarity and Twilight ship.
Rarity? Really? With a smile, Rarity tipped over her salad bag to reveal the assortment of fresh fruits and floral sandwiches on rich-looking breads. Twilight looked over the spoils, mouth watering at the sight.
Where did you get all this?
She asked. Before she could get an answer, she found herself digging into a sandwich. It tasted so good she couldn't stop eating as she talked.
Where did you get the money?
Her eyes widened.
You didn't steal. Some pony dropped a bag of coins on the ground during the stampede.
Rarity interrupted sharply, nodding towards the nearby ponies, in particular, the more well-armored lot.
I've been trying to find who it belonged to, but nobody has been able to tell me how many coins were in it. I've been keeping it around until somebody does. Though I think it would help us if we searched for the book, don't you think? Rarity took the canvas pouch from her bag, held it a hoof. I paid for a room last night after they refused to tell me which room you were sleeping in, and I have to admit, the rooms were much nicer than expected.
Twilight took a drink of water from her canteen to clear her throat.
So you're just keeping it? Only until I find who it belongs to, darling. Why are you hiding in that crowd while you wait for me? Could you stay out in the open?
The group that filled the room slowly dispersed, leaving the lobby quiet save for the crackle of the fireplace. Slowly, Rarity looked at her plank, still covered by her cloak.
My kitty mark came back early last night, and I didn't want to risk anybody seeing it, so I hid amongst the crowd, she said in a hushed tone. I figured you'd be down early. You have no idea how miserable last night was,
Twilight said, recounting the night before.
how large the city is. I thought I'd lost you in Applejack completely.
Twilight paused for a moment.
Have you seen her? Well, no, Rarity admitted. She can't be too far away. Applejack wouldn't go very far without us, right?
She's right, Twilight thought. Maybe it had been her guilt, but she made her fail to realize this. She wasn't sure.
I'm sure we'll find her soon enough. But I think we need to start looking for that book. I spoke with a merchant yesterday. Got some information about a few libraries and bookstores.
She took out a scroll of inky scratches that scarcely resembled words and handed it to Twilight.
Did it say if any of them had the book?
Twilight asked as he grabbed the scroll and looked it over.
No. Nobody I talked to had so much knowledge about places. We'll just have to check them out ourselves.
While we're searching, there's apparently a black market
that operates near here we should visit.
This may be where those transactions the shopkeeper Battling district would take place.
We can exchange our bits for coins, so there won't be so reliant on the ones you found. It's agreed then,
Rarity said with a smile before rising to her host.
But the libraries and bookstores first, if you please, darling. I must prefer to stay away from the seedier elements of certain Applejacks doing the same. So you can't let's get out of here. The warmth is great and all, but the humidity is doing terrible things to my coiffure. She's taking this a lot better than I am.
I'll hide your mark again, once we're alone, she whispered to Rarity, as she turned in her key, leaning them both towards the inn, leaving behind its comforting warmth by the biting cold of the city streets. A multitude of guards stood at the tight intervals down the road, several of them with silver or green dragons by their side. The ponies and griffins outside didn't want to hear or notice as they talked with one another, while children with small dragons ran by and brushed past Twilight as they played through the streets. With a clear head, Twilight began to take notice of the General's district attire and attitude. Unlike the district under Lord Balin, the inhabitants appeared very clean and well-groomed, with only snow slightly flaked on their otherwise immaculate attire. She looked over to Rarity. Her hair, though still hanging down loose bundles, seemed more well-kept than it had to say before. It was now wavy. It was certainly not the tightly spiraling curls she prized, but elegant just the same. Even her necklace was placed pridefully about her neck. A cloak and outfit clean and pressed, giving her a silent adventurous look that didn't appear at all out of place. Twilight preferred not to know how ghastly she looked by comparison. The sun had only just risen out of the outer walls, the 9 horizontal rays of the sun setting the falling snow aflame. Driving Twilight's gaze, she lowered as she made her way through the masses. She noticed several ponies exchanging queer looks as she passed, and quickly fell in line behind Rarity. There was no wind to speak of, making the weather almost hospitable to say the least. Compared to the day before, the district felt quiet, relaxed even, something that Twilight desperately needed. The shops began to open as the sun rose higher, and more ponies tricked out of their homes. More appeared in good spirits, or laughing or joking with one another, firing their gazes away from the soldiers that stood near them, a show of willful ignorance. Twilight and Rarity merged into the swelling crowd of ponies, placing as many locals as they could between themselves and the guards' prying eyes. Twilight took another look at the list, looking for the shop with the name of windows or signs. About a half-mile later, Rarity stopped in front of a building, a large red and silver banner hanging from its roof. A detail every shop seemed to share. It stood 2 stories tall, with wooden shingles that ran along the outer walls. A small wooden sign with a wood-carved door near the door. Bookshop, it read. Glanced down at the list, mentally checking it off before placing it back into her bag. As she grew closer into the darkened shop window, she was taken back by a reflection in the glass. Her eyes were sunk into her face, heavy bags hanging out under them. Her mane was a mess. Hairs askew and full of dirt that clung suddenly to her fur for the days prior. Her swollen cheek had nearly gone back to normal, but it left behind a long red mark that was still throbbed painfully in the memory of the blow. Decently sized gas traveled down from her forehead to her left eye to her ear. She didn't remember where she got it. A small bit of dried blood flaked away as she touched it, but the wound itself appeared to heal nicely. Guys, I just thought about it. But what if this is actually a alternate universe history of Tempest Shadow? Tempest, you're not a time traveler, are you? No. Okay, good.
You know, sometimes he freaks me out.
Yeah, me too. She pressed her hand over her hoof as she wiped away some of the dried blood and attempted to make herself presentable. This'll have to do now, I guess. Rarity trotted into the store, a chime marking her entrance. As Twilight entered, she was assaulted by the pulpy smell of the old book, mixed with dust, that could be seen in a haze as sunlight shone weakly through the windows. Instead of a roaring fire like the inn, the store was lit with small, flickering lanterns placed on a table that admitted rows and rows of shelves. They extended up to 2 full stories and nearly touched the ceiling, each of them packed away with an array of books and scrolls. In the center, an old stallion was taking a book down from the shelf. His hoof was well worn where his horn was enveloped in a light teal, along with the book, beginning to slowly float down towards them. Twilight noticed a strange design, a small circle of intertwining lines, drawn on the back of an old unicorn's trembling hoof. Twilight stood, quietly waiting for the stallion to finish his work, all the while trying hard not to break the silence with the cough building in her throat. She nearly choked on the dusty air.
Excuse me, sir,
Rarity called out, causing the old stallion to drop the book with a thud. He looked over at them, adjusting his glasses and squinting.
What is it?
He asked in a shaky tone, swinging a walking stick at his side and hobbled towards them. He stepped closer to them, bringing his head towards to get a better look.
You must not be here directly again. I won't pay for another bookshelf.
No, we're not here for a book. We're here looking for a book, Twilight explained, watching the man back away. Do you have anything by Archon Griswold? The stallion spat on the floor, making the 2 reel back. He snorted before attempting to stand up straight.
A book? By that traitor? The day I let one of his books into my store is the day I spit on the great King Vale's grave.
Traitor? You're just a professor from over 2,000 years ago. What have you done to be called a traitor? Do you know of any shop or library that could? It's very important we get ourselves hoods on a copy. Rarity quickly stopped in front of Twilight, covering her mouth with a hoof. We're not from around here.
Bah! A pox on any stallion or mare that would seek it. Evil magic lurks within Narcan's words, young mare. I'd do all I could to stay away from him if I were you.
Kirsty said, wagging a hoof at Twilight.
Is that all? Or do you have more damnable names that you wish to curse my shop with?
I do have this if you could take a look at it, Twilight said, taking the small book she salvaged from the ruins out of her bag and handed to the library. It's hard for me to read it. I've never seen words arranged like that before. Stallion squinted and slowly turned the pages of the book, carefully laying them on top of one another as he flipped through. His face showed pain and determination as he read, making Twilight nervous as to what the book could be about. After a few moments, he placed the book down and huffed, sliding back over to them.
Barbaric trust, that's what this is. Where did you get this? Outside the walls?
Yes, it was buried in some...
Burn it. Nothing good could come from reading such lies.
He began to hobble back towards his fallen tome, mumbling to himself. Twilight carefully closed the text and put it away, watching intently the stallion draw intricate designs with his hoof of his horn, before his hoof and the book began to glow once more.
Thank you for your help,
Rarity forced out, trying to be polite. The stallion responded with incomprehensible curses, before resuming his focus on the book.
Let's just go,
she whispered to Twilight.
We still have 3 more places to visit at least.
Every one of their attempts turned out the same. Libraries cursed them for merely mentioning the traitor's name in their presence, while the only other bookstore's owner laughed in their faces as their hunt for Applejack kept them from trudging through the list. Not even hints of bribery could persuade the owners to give them a clue to the text's possible location. Twilight didn't dare showcase the book from the forest to anyone else. The only text Twilight could get her hose on was a simple spellbook before they camped down at the small shop. Before the 2 unicorns knew it, night had fallen upon them, leaving only the cold winds and stars to keep them company.
Hey, Luna, are you sure you couldn't have slowed down with that one?
Sorry! With no other leads, they continued down north to their own disappointment. The amount of ponies outside had grown considerably, dancing their hosts as perhaps spotting a familiar Stetson or blonde maid in the crowd. The amount of noise rose as well, not mechanical sounds, but yelling and laughing. They had entered the Dragon's Claw district. A sign at the edge of the road said, in the district just north of where they had slept the night before. Ponies roamed the streets openly under the moonlight, while the faceless music resonated around them. The buildings were illuminated in the soft yellow glow of oil lamps that lined the street, and feeling the seeming lack of guards posted near the alleys. Maybe they don't know they're hanging yet. So I thought, watching the citizens party carefree. The disoriented stallion stumbled through the crowd, slurring obscenities at anyone and anything he bumped to, before running back into its dark wooden building. Twilight watched for the pony's reactions, but no pony did anything. Hal simply brushed it off and kept moving. In Caroline, let alone Ponyville, nights were neither this loud or lively. They tended to be calm and serene, allowing Twilight time to study quietly. She had no idea what she would have done to distort the norm back home.
This place would look so much more exquisite if it had only cleaned out a bit,
Rarity said, looking around the brightly lit buildings. Lively air filled the streets, as several of the folk were dancing to the music, while still others laughed loudly with each other. The contrast to Bala's district was a welcome change, but the sheer number of ponies made it hard to navigate.
Maybe we should take a little break tonight. Have a little fun. I know I could certainly use it.
We don't have time for fun, Twilight said. Her Applejack is still out on her own, remember? And parking isn't going to help us find her, Twilight argued, watching Rarity's face twist in disappointment.
What do we do then?
Rarity asked as they sorted out the masses.
Didn't you say that there was a black market somewhere we could go? There is, but the innkeeper was being cryptic about it,
Twilight explained.
Past the Twin Spires and inside the belly of the wind was what she said. I haven't found anything close to that around here.
Rarity sighed.
There may be one around here. Security is certainly low enough.
She glanced around and took a whiff of the air. Twilight followed suit, taking in the aroma of hops and berries, mixed with a slight hint of vomit. A sharp wind carried it well enough, making her gag.
Perhaps somebody here knows about it. They seem quite more relaxed than the stuffy librarians. It would be nice, but most of these ponies look drunk. What could possibly tell us? Oh, Twilight, you haven't partaken much, have you?
Rarity laughed.
Why would I? Twilight quit. Don't mind, of course. I've had enough drinks with Applejack after her work days, and with some of the elites back at Continent, to know of a few things. First of all, a fine mellow or Chardonnay can be quite relaxing after a long day's work. And second of all, never attempt to drink with an apple farmer under the table when apple cider is on the menu. But apple cider is an alcoholic, right? I see that Applejack hasn't shown you around the new apple cider.
Twilight suddenly felt a bit unstaying at the revelation of Applejack's apparent bootlegging operation.
Anyways, darling, both Applejack and I have noticed there's some rather amusing things regarding the behavior of our fellow equestrians in the company of more hearty drinks. There's always a certain point at which the alcohol is loosened the jaw and thickened the tongue of the one is more willing to part with certain drinks. I believe Applejack called it the stammering point. To find some point close to that point, and I believe we'll have our information sooner than you may think.
If you say so, Twilight replied with uncertainty. Alcohol was a rare substance in Equestria, or at least Twilight thought so under her teacher's strict supervision. Celestia had certainly kept what lay beyond Equestria's borders a secret from her well enough.
Let's see what they know,
she exclaimed with more conviction.
Great!
Rarity said before breaking away and turning into one of the taverns. Twilight followed close behind, leaving it through the crowd until she had reached the open door. As she crossed the threshold from street to establishment, Twilight found herself swept into the crowd of Patreons. Earth ponies, Pegasi, and several unicorns, as well as a griffin or two, mingled inside the tavern. It was dark inside, with only a few lamps burning on the tables, a stark contrast to the streets outside. Rarity, seeing the griffin, did the only thing she could do whenever she saw a griffin. She punched him hard! When asked why, Rarity just growled,
You know what he did.
A small string quartet had set up their instruments in the corner, playing a light and peppy tune. Rarity walked up to the counter and signaled to the black-maned stallion and a Dan double behind it. He set down wine glass and trowel, and approached just before Twilight found an empty stool to sit on. Twilight sat next to Rarity and looked down at the counter, seeing ponies and griffins hunched over their drinks, accompanied them with both their hooves and talons.
Others across from her were chatting and pointing at something out on the road. Before Twilight could see it, it was already over. She sighed and turned to see Rarity already talking with the bartender, with a drink in front of her.
Oh, festival lights. I'm shocked you didn't know about it,
The barkeep said, leaning in closer to Rarity. She smiled.
I've just moved here from the coast myself. It sounds lovely, though,
Rarity replied, idly curling her mane around her hoof. She sipped her other hoof into her bag and pulled out a bag of gold.
My friend and I were looking for something very important that we heard we could find here in Mr. City.
Rarity took a forehang around Twilight, pulling her close.
What can I help you find? You know, there are many things in Minstrel that parties come from all over for the world for. I'm sure I'll be able to help you find out.
Rarity leaned in close, then looked at her sides to make sure no one else was listening.
We've received nothing but grief from our inquiries. How can I be certain we won't receive the same from you?
The barkeep snickered.
What could you possibly need that would cause you trouble around here? It's Dragon's Claw, after all.
Rarity paused a moment before speaking above a whisper.
We are looking for a book by Archon Griswold and...
Shh! Don't talk so loud,
he whispered, putting a hoof to Rarity's lips.
Surprised no one's arrested you for talking about him.
What did he do anyway?
Twilight asked. All anybody has told us that he was a traitor of some sort.
It is so long ago, and his actions weren't recorded. I believe so. Most of what he did is a amount of hearsay and propaganda. No one really knows, but everyone has always seen him as a traitor, and most are frightened by anyone or anything that reminds them of him. To be honest, I'm still worried about what might happen if anyone were to find their works.
Why would we be told that a copy of his book would be here if he's so reviled?
Well, it is, he did write a spell book, but no one's seen it in ages.
So, nobody knows where it is?
I wouldn't say that. If anyone knows where it is, it'd be Ross. He owns a bar just uptown.
Where is uptown? Twilight asked, hoping for not yet another disappointment.
Go 3 blocks north of here, turn right on Conference. You'll be the 7th building on your left. It has a red bridge on the bottom of the building. You really can't miss it, especially with not how loud his patrons are.
Thank you so much,
Rarity said enthusiastically. You don't think that book is dangerous like the rest of the ponies we asked? Twilight asked. Won't your friend get in trouble if he tells us?
Nah, of course not. He's been around for far too long to get caught because of that. Just make sure you have the money to pay him. He has a lot of inside information, even about things up at King's Alley, but it ain't gonna be cheap.
He paused for a moment, while several patrons began screaming for him to get more drinks.
Shut up down there, you down drunks!
He screamed, causing the ponies to temporarily fall silent, before resuming the drunken banter.
Curious, why you need it in the first place?
It's to help a friend, Twilight explained, watching Rarity slowly sip her wine.
Is that all I can help you with today?
He asked for a normal volume, after a quick nod.
I have other customers, so I can't stay here much longer.
Could I just get a glass of water? The barkeep laughed.
Ha! You're not gonna last here longer if water's all you can handle.
Filled up a small glass of cold water and passed it to her. Good luck, he whispered before walking away to deal with the impatient drunkards. Twilight grabbed the glass and gulped the water down quickly, wiping a dribble of water from her lower lip with her hoof. She kept her eyes on the barkeep.
What does he have to gain from this?
She asked herself before turning her attention back to Rarity. Slowly, Rarity sipped her wine, her attention focused on the festivities outside.
Do you think he's telling the truth?
Twilight asked in a hushed voice.
Hmm.
Rarity placed her glass down and turned to Twilight.
What if this Ross is some sort of scam artist? That's all the money we have, at least until we find some place to exchange our bits. I do think it's worth a try at least.
Rarity took another sip.
If Griswold's book is truly as well as the sign says, we need every clue we can get our hoops on. But if he has common banners inside and outside a tavern, we find someplace else. We need to stay from the common lawyers as possible. Agreed.
Rarity took a long, as yet dignified slip, and a gulp of wine and stood up.
We should find somewhere to sleep as well.
Again, quite tired. Twilight nodded as well, walking out with Rarity as the orchestra fizzed on the final, harmonious chord. The amount of ponies in the street seemed to swell, along with the noise as they made their way north. Multicolored strings of light hung between the lampposts, paralleling the road. Dancers in brightly colored garb performed twirls and flips just outside the main herd, attracting several passersby to stop and toss copper and silver at their hooves and pause in adoration. The sense of blues hung thick in the air, but, with the wind having died down, was far more tolerable for Twilight. They walked quickly down through the crowd, weaving through the festively attired ponies. Bright silver and green, along with blues and oranges, contrasted with the browns and grays that had been so common in Balin's district.
was a common distraction from the crimson and silver that loomed overhead. The air seemed almost balmy amongst the crowd and under multicolored lights, giving the bright colors an almost magical feel to them. He broke from the crowd and walked along beside them, allowing them so that Twilight could see the signs that had been bolted to the tall metal poles that stood on every street corner. A guard atop a white dragon with its tongue lolling out rolled by, meeting up another on a blue-gray dragon before turning on the corner in Thicket Street. With their hurried pace, it only took a few minutes to reach Campus Road. After a quick right turn, they trotted down past a few buildings and kept their eyes open for a brick exterior that the barkeeper had told them about. The street was much more limply lit than the main road, the pitiful number of light streams struggling to illuminate buildings. It was much quieter than the main road as well, though it grew quieter as they moved east. Rarity huddled close to Twilight as each of them watched for any pony and anything moving in the shadows. A glowing line stood up out the road ahead, attached to the window of the buildings. Twilight hurried to take a look, reading Ross's room in bright letters. Just as the barkeeper had said, bricks made out of the bottom half of the building, while, as far as you could tell in the low light, the upper half was covered in wood paneling. It wasn't the third building down the road, as the barkeeper had told him, but close enough. No music could be heard from the inside, but a loud, rumbling cacophony of incomprehensible voices bellowed from it.
Do you think this is it?
Rarity asked, running her hoof along the bricks and inspecting the dark gray residue that came off her hoof.
You?
She stuttered before scraping her hoof against the cobblestone beneath her.
It is a bit unclean. It fits the bill,
Twilight said. She looked up and down the road, seeing no pony or griffin around them for a few blocks. Perfect.
Lift up your cloak for a second.
She asked, turning to Rarity. The white unicorn nodded, sliding her cloak up with her magic. Twilight's horn slowed as she lowered her head, quickly cast the key mark removal spell, watching Rarity's trio of diamonds vanish once more.
There we go. I think we're ready. Thanks, Twilight,
Rarity said, her horn ceasing to glow before her cloak billowed around, bound to her flank. Twilight took a deep breath and grasped the door handle.
Are you ready? The sooner we get our friends back, the better,
Rarity answered, standing straight and diligent. Here we go. She opened the door slowly, feeling a blast of warm air escape through the door. They stepped inside, and one was instantly strangled by the coils of smoke that hung in the air, with nowhere to go but out the door. The bar was dark, with only a few candles on the table for light. With no natural light, it was difficult, if not impossible, to tell what the walls were made of, or how large the room actually was. But the oaken counter that greeted them as they walked had stood in a straight, dividing path. After closing the door behind them, the two made their way to the counter. Few, if any, of the patrons stepped in to take the presence of the two mares, seemingly to simply carrying on drinking and talking. A lone stallion stood behind the counter, pouring a shot of liquor before downing it himself. He was bald, wearing an embroidered leather shirt and a green banner design on his chest, with a golden eagle at his center. A long, scraggly beard floated down his face, speckled of gray and brown. Slamming down a tiny glass, he looked up at Twilight and Rarity just as he reached the counter.
You have a drink or test business?
He asked in a salty tone. A scowl seemed to be plastered on his face, setting Twilight on his edge.
We were told we could get some information here,
Twilight explained, knitting a hearty laugh from the old keep. Are you Ross?
You have some nerve coming down this road and not running with your tail tucked between your legs.
Several others took notice, chuckling along with the old stallion.
You heard right. It needs Ross. What kind of information you looking for?
Rarity leaned to the counter and brought her head up next to Ross's.
We're looking for a book by Professor Arcane Griswold,
she whispered, taking a look of confusion watched over Ross's face.
Speak up, darling. I can't hear you.
He put himself to ear and listened some last from the patron's lips.
We need Arcane.
Louder!
He bellowed, Rarity's face red in frustration.
Arcane Griswold's spellbook!
She yelled, huffing in anger before looking around nervously, as the bar grew deathly silent. Twilight began to step away from the counter, to make an escape lest any of them got violent.
Wasn't that easier?
Ross asked, causing Rarity on the shoulder.
You came to the right. Get back to the dragon, you bums!
He hollered, prompting the patrons to go back to their business.
No pride in your reasons for needing such a dark piece of our history. But if you can pay us the price, I'm sure they can help you out.
How much?
Twilight asked, watching Rarity take the coin bag and place it on the counter.
25 gold pieces, plus 4 drinks each.
25?
Rarity shrieked, quickly snatching the bag back.
That's absurd.
You can't afford it? Guess I'll keep it to myself then.
Ross threatened. Rarity looked over at Twilight, who slowly sidled up to the counter, then back at Ross. We'll take 8 glasses. Your finest wines and liquor, at least 4 of them. The oldest vintages you have. Cigar the barkeep. Perhaps you can live in such a place as dirty and think of this, but we are ladies, and we are going to drink in style, darling.
I love you, Rarity. Ross stood, speechless before bursting into laughter.
Ha ha ha! I like the fire in ya.
He stopped to place his hoof up to the chin and thought. He went through the calculations in his head, muttering them aloud, soft enough for Twilight to hear it.
It'll be 37. No, even 35 gold, outsiders.
How do we know you aren't just going to take the gold and not tell us anything?
Twilight demanded. She looked at her Rarity and saw the jewel in the Faustinese's necklace flash for a split second, as her eyes unflinchingly locked onto the barkeep. Twilight turned back to face Ross again.
You don't want my help, so be it.
Ross shrugged, pushing himself away from the counter.
I strongly suggest you run back to the safety of the festival then, 'cause there ain't nothing for you out there.
Please, just tell us if you know about the book.
Twilight pleaded. The old barkeep stepped closer.
We're trying to help out our friends, and the only way we can is with Griswold's book.
You see all those boys and griffins in there? They all come to me for information, and kept coming back ever since, exchanging money and booze and secrets. I wouldn't be in business too long if I didn't keep my word. I'd probably be dead.
He bent down and emerged with 8 wine glasses and set them in front of them.
I know the book you're looking for. Let me tell you all this information passed down from thousands of years ago, from back when Griswold was still walking about.
He sighed.
Fortunately, that's all there is.
Are there any copies left? Wouldn't such an important document be?
People weren't too fond of him after what happened to the Great Northern War. He became a tree and his works were locked away by the king, never to be read again. That's all I can tell you for free.
What should we do? Rarity whispered. If we had Applejack in here, it would be so much easier.
After all the hassle the bookstore owners and librarians had given them, Twilight didn't know she was willing to trust anyone in this district anymore. The barkeep had told him about Ross. It certainly seemed nice enough, but where he supposed about the source. If he said it was true, and only one copy of the book remained, no choice but to trust in Ross. If he's wrong, give him the gold. Rarity nodded and counted out 35 gold pieces onto the counter, shrinking the bag's bulk significantly. Slid them across the counter, where Ross quickly scooped them up and placed them in a drawer. Smiled, he grabbed 4 bottles of wine behind the shelf and poured into 2 of the glasses. They smelled intense. 2 glasses of a white wine with a hint of peach and vanilla, blood blast raspberry liqueur, and a pink strawberry kiwi wine, and finally a creamy coconut wine. Twilight's mouth began to water immediately, watching condensation form on the crystalline glass.
Your drinks, import from King's Alley itself.
Oh, these look simply divine! Rarity exclaimed, grasping one of the drinks in a small sip. Oh, it's delicious too.
Glad it's to your liking,
Ross said, before stepping inside.
We have new customers! Everyone out!
He shouted. Every pony and griffin who was sitting rose from their chairs and rushed towards the front door. They all left in a single file, leaving the building empty with the exception of Twilight and Rarity, and Ross who tapped his foot impatiently to the floor. Only a few moments later, the bar was completely silent.
Now, about your book. There was a soldier in Griswold's time. A soldier in the good king's army, and a decorated hero at that. When the war was good and over, after Arcan had deserted, he and his troop found the traitor's book lying in the winter he raised. They took it to the king. The king ordered it locked away until Griswold or his descendants were made for to pay for the primes to the crown. No one ever set forward, so it remains locked away.
How do you know about this?
A friend of mine, ex-captain in the city once, is one of the soldier's ancestors. There's a tale that has passed on from father and son for generations.
Twilight thought over the story for a moment, prying and poking her mind.
But what did Arcan do exactly?
Everybody's convinced he was a traitor, that he should never be mentioned. Even with all the information that passes through my bar, couldn't honestly tell you. All I know is that they say after the war, he upped in Fenix.
Why did they hide his book?
I was just getting to that part. According to my soldiers, it's hidden somewhere beneath the city. Supposedly at the end of an underground passage that you can only get up to in King's Alley. As unicorns, you shouldn't have any problem getting in as long as you can find the gold, or someone willing to part with a couple of passes.
Do you know where we could find any, or is this outside of our deal?
You look smarter than you look, kid. A few more gold and I'll spill a decent spot.
Twilight turned to Rarity.
Do we have enough gold to pay for this?
Rarity opened the bag and pouted, shook her head.
None of this we wish to stall for the next few days.
I guess we're done here, Twilight said, grasping one of the wine glasses. She took a sip, and instantly her forehead began to throb. Went away after only a few moments, enough to make her sit down.
Take a seat anywhere where there aren't any glasses and enjoy the wine. You both look like you could use it.
He laughed to himself before drawing down a switch on the black wall. A loud bell chimed outside the building, prompting the patrons to fly back into the bar and sit back down as if it were routine. As the volume returned to normal, the two unicorns took their wine and sat down at a wooden table near the middle of the room. The table wobbled a little when they sat the drinks down, but Twilight was too intrigued by the barkeep's story to even notice.
An underground passage. But why couldn't you get to it from down here? Maybe he has the same enchantment as King's Alley.
Twilight reasoned. She looked up at Rarity, who had already finished half of her white wine.
This is simply exquisite, Twilight. You must simply try this,
Rarity exclaimed. A smile slowly crept along her face as she took another sip of the wine. The aroma alone made Twilight's head swirl, but the fruity liquid went down smooth enough to make her not care. The peach and vanilla flavors lingered on her tongue long after she sat her down.
It's pretty good,
Twilight admitted, taking another sip.
So, do you think he was telling the truth?
Rarity asked, finishing her white wine and sliding the glass off the center of the table.
It makes sense that he would hide it where most ponies couldn't find it, but an underground passageway is a little hard to believe. The Royal Archives and the Encantalat will dug into the mountain. No different, really.
It's completely different, Rarity, Twilight exclaimed, setting down half her peach wine.
That upper level is essentially floating on top of buildings down here. How's it even possible for a path like that to exist? Well, the country does trot to the eternal winter. They have different magic than we do, and we can't get rid of the winter we like Econ. They can't change anything at all.
Twilight took another sip of wine, feeling her cheeks warm as a light haze began to surround her judgment.
Did you see any Pegasi in the skies when the storms came in? I sure didn't.
He paused to finish the remainder of her drink, head swimming as he did so.
We saw the moon out with the sun at the same time. Slow down, Twilight. Those are strong wines. You haven't had any drinks before, so you're a bit of a lightweight.
Twilight ignored Rarity's comment as her attention traveled across the room, noticing several of the patrons watching incredulously sense conviction. She grabbed the raspberry wine and took a gulp, letting the peach and vanilla that still lingered on her tongue mix with the red raspberry. She smiled as she did so, drank a quarter of the glass as quickly as Rarity could tell her to stop. Not long after, her cheeks flared as she could catch on fire at any moment, tinklingly madly. Every time she moved her head, her vision would sway back and forth as she tried to make out ponies or objects in the fading haze. Rarity took another sip from her second wine glass, looking as composed as she had back at the end.
Are you okay?
Rarity asked, placing her hoof on the table.
You don't get a little off color.
I'm fine, Twilight said with a drawn-out breath, her body swaying back and forth slightly. The room around her seemed to be spinning with her thoughts, collapsed to an incoherent mess. Sounds of the liquored-up patrons began to merge with a cacophony of intelligible noise. She took the last gulp of the second glass of wine, placing her hoof on the table to rest on. What do we do now?
Yep. We keep our profiles low this evening and find some place to rest. Celestia knows you need it.
Rarity took another sip.
Low profile. Gotcha!
Twilight exclaimed. It seemed a simple thing to keep aware of, but her drunken haze was hard for her to keep on task for anything. She yawned before looking back into her backpack to make sure she had everything as her patrons walked by. She scrounged around until her hoof brushed up against something metallic. With a quick jolt, she lifted the element of magic and put it from her bag and placed it on the table.
I don't remember the last time I put this on. Have you ever wondered why it's a crown and not a necklace? It's strange. This isn't really the place for this, Twilight!
Rarity scolded, before Twilight placed the crown on her head, a giddy smile on her face as it rested.
What if we run to Griffin's? Shouldn't I be prepared?
She asked, rubbing the purple star that topped the golden tiara.
You have your necklace on all the time. Yes, because I can hide it under my cloak,
Rarity explained sternly, noticing some of the patrons glancing at Twilight.
Put this away, ponies are staring! It's fine, Rarity. Hold on, I'm gonna get some water.
Twilight stood. Her head instantly swam as she stumbled back into her chair. Nearly falling over, she steadied herself and rose once more, squinting her eyes to get a better view in the dark. Carefully, she began to stagger over to the counter, stepping behind one hoof in front of the other as she wobbled back and forth. A peripheral vision was a blur as she bumped by several of the tables, keeping her mind focused on the counter just ahead.
Just as he was about to reach the counter, her right foreleg crossed in front of her left, causing her to trip over herself. She groaned, adjusting the element before attempting to stand.
Let me help you with that.
A grouse leather-clad stallion said, reaching out her hoof and crossing Twilight's. The drunken mare felt herself being pulled up, before helping the hoof suddenly halted. Twilight realized her cloak had been flipped up and away from her flanks, where her cueing mark would be.
What's that?
What's that?
Twilight asked, seeing the stallion's puzzled fake.
That's a star on your flank.
Twilight's pupils rapidly shrank as she felt some panic lucidity returning to her.
It wore off already?
In a panic, she wrenched her hoof away from the stallion, struggling to stand and straighten her cloak at the same time.
What's happening?
A griffin shouted from the other side of the bar as the stallion started to slowly step away from Twilight.
It's...
The stallion stammered.
She's got the demon's brand.
The bar instantly erupted into loud cries of fear and anger as they all rose from their chairs. Rarity included. She pushed through the now forming sea of creatures, running up to Twilight and standing in front of her as she tried to stand. From the tables came a multitude of weapons. Most Twilight was unable to identify.
It's just a birthmark!
Twilight stammered out as the crowd advanced undeterred. Please, just listen to me.
Get them! They're out to curse us again!
One of them cried, running forward with weapon raised in the mouth. Twilight scrambled to her host, getting away just as the assailants swung down their blades to the floor. Twilight pushed through the angry crowd, trying to find a way out as Rarity back to the brick wall.
Hold still!
Twilight glanced to the front door, finding a pile of unicorns, placing a seal that made it glow in a bright red light. Took a quick look at the counter, noticing Ross had disappeared. Her attention was quickly brought back to the situation as a griffin rushed her with an iron bar, swinging it wildly. Twilight sprinted and stumbled between the tables, narrowly avoiding the griffin's assault as the knight thrust down at her with a long sword. Scraped against her hide, leaving a long cut on her side as she shoved the griffin out of the way, knocking into the table. Rarity left behind the counters, magically tossing full balls at the coming swarm, knocking them back into each other. Spirits drenched the mob, holding him off as some fell to the ground stunned. Without thinking, Twilight rushed to the crowd, keeping low to weave through a train of alcohol sprayed him.
Don't let them through!
Send them to their graves!
Another roared. Before Twilight could break out of the crowd, she was hit on the side with a club, sending her crashing down to the other members of the mob and down to the ground. Straining to keep her eyes open, she turned her head to Rarity, the mob closing in on her.
Rarity!
Twilight cried out, launching her wildly fleeing balls and glasses to the oncoming attackers. Twilight's vision dimmed as she could only watch the patriots surround her, her eyes gleaming with malicious intent.
They have to get us out,
she thought, before closing her eyes and concentrating all her magical energies to her horn. With the last bits of her strength, she expelled the built-up energy, but something was amiss. A sudden surge of power coursed through her body as the spell was cast forth, snapping her eyes open. Energy seemed to spill from her body as the world around her turned to a brilliant white light. As she released a massive magic influx from her body, a loud ringing filled her ears, drowning out everything else. Suddenly her body felt weightless. When the ringing stopped, everything was silent as Twilight sank down to the floor. The whiteness faded, bringing the dizzy bar back into focus. Soft purple light shone off at those around her, giving them a strange ethereal glow. Only the sounds of her beating heart and heavy breaths filled the room. Confused, she slowly looked up from the floor, her mind strangely clear, vision sharp as ever. In a panic, she scooted back to the floor, away from one of the patriots, seeing his body suspended, unmoving in the air as the mace was frozen mid-swing down towards her head.
What's happening?
Twilight asked herself, slowly standing up. Her headache had disappeared, along with the swimming sensation and tunnel vision that plagued her just moments ago. She blinked a few times, trying to process whether or not she saw was even possible. Everyone and everything around her had completely stopped. The racing stallions, their varied weapons drawn and ready to strike, appeared as statues to Twilight as she walked around them. Curious, she touched one with a hoof, unable to press it to her skin as they were made out of stone. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself as she noticed something moving onto her back. Before she could investigate, a sharp pain began to rise to her chest as she started to pant. Her horn was still glowing with magical energy, her body trembling from the surges flowing through it. She stumbled forward, straining to push the main people in her way into the side, in order to reach the bar in Rarity. With a quick sleight of her magic, she easily parted the group and cleared the path through the mob, sent flying towards the wall, but she grew lightheaded from the strain. Rarity was falling backwards off the counter, brandishing a bottle with a blue aurora. Ready to strike as Stallion was about to grab her. Twilight grabbed up under the counter, the pain in her chest becoming more intense as her energy began to wane. She grabbed onto Rarity's foreleg. It pulled, but fell to the ground as her body refused to move a single inch. She grabbed again, heaving and pulling until she collapsed once more. With no other option, she gritted her teeth and enveloped Rarity in a bright purple light, carrying her frozen body to the counter and towards the left side of the bar. Twilight followed, vision wavering as she held her friend, trying to think of a way out. As she ducked down from the bar, she lay face first on the floor. Body sprawled out, but she struggled to stand, feeling something soft and warm drape along her sides. She turned her head up and noticed a small door on the side behind the bar. She concentrated on the door, forcing the door open with ease before her breathing grew labored and legs wobbled as she moved. With one final push, she grabbed Rarity and bolted out to the door, skidding across the ground at her sides as the cool night air caressed her tired body. She quickly closed the door behind her, let go of everything as her horn dimmed to a soft glow before extinguishing completely. Rarity yelled as she suddenly found herself suspended in the air, hooves flailing as she crashed down into the snow, a ball of wine crashing down with her a heavy thud. She scrambled around, investigating her surroundings when she came to a sudden stop. After catching her breath, she sat down and put a hoof to her head. What happened?" she asked, turning to Twilight, and let out a scream as she stumbled back, eyes staring back at Twilight with confusion and fear. "What's wrong?" Twilight asked, taking the crown off her head. The purple star on the top still pulsated with light, as the demon fighted slowly. "I can't even begin to describe. Wings!" she hollered, pointing at Twilight. "You have wings, Twilight!" "No, that isn't until next year." "I do?" Twilight asked, looking behind her. "Oh, look, she has wings." "Amazing. Twilight has alicorn wings." "I'm not shocked." Attached to her back were two large ethereal wings, glowing purple with a shroud of mist coming off of them as if they were made from vapor. The glow bounced off the brick and limestone buildings, enveloping the alley in their haunting light. Breath quickened as she ran her hoof through them, feeling the soft feathers before they dissolved at the touch. "How is this even possible?"
Where did he go?
the two heard from inside the bar. "Well, you see, after you do something that totally messes your cutie mark exactly and goes to the full intensity of your ability, you suddenly become a alicorn." Twilight quickly rose to her hooves and ran towards Rarity, watching as the wings behind her turned to smoke and faded away, leaving only the lights of the stars and moon to light their way. Without a word, they began to gallop. They galloped until the sounds of the smallest yells and hollers faded away. They found themselves on a small, lit lantern road. The sounds of the festival were distant as they stopped to catch their breaths. Twilight patted her back, finding no trace of ethereal wings left. She closed her eyes and slid to the ground, placing her hooves on her forehead. Her chest ceased throbbing as her body began to normalize, laying the snow on the ground while cool her body. "What happened back there?" Rarity asked, pacing. "One second I was being overwhelmed by those brutes, and the next I was outside in the snow. Did—" Her eyes looked up before she ran in front of Twilight, kneeling down to face. "Did the element magic activate?" "I think so," Twilight answered, taking the crown from her bag. The metal was worn, was the barest pinpoint of light remained in the crystal star. "I don't remember being able to do that before." "But you've done that plenty of times, haven't you?" Rarity stepped away. "You just teleported us out, right?" Twilight opened her eyes, and explained everything that had happened, starting from when she had been struck from a club. Rarity listened intensely, guessing at some of the things Twilight said. When Twilight was finished, Rarity slumped to the floor and grasped the element of generosity. "You stopped time? That's amazing!" Rarity exclaimed. "And mastered the possibilities!" Suddenly, a lone mare opened the door to a building next to the two equestrians, taking out the hoof-painted signs. They stood on the street near to the door, before lighting the wrought iron lanterns beside her. "I almost collapsed from having to do it only a few minutes. What could I possibly do if I can't stop it for long?" Twilight explained in a hushed tone.
Hey, you still got another hour before the festival is down here, the middle-aged mare yelled. You too drunk or something?
"No, just us," Rarity replied. "We happen to know where the inn is located around here. We're new around these parts, and—"
Yeah, I could tell. There's just one up the road, but the prices are going to be steep. You best watch yourselves,
The brunette mare answered, pointing north before heading back inside. Rarity stood and held Twilight to her hooves, dusting them both off. The sound of drunken revelry rose over the serene quiet, as the lights were strung between the light poles started to glow as if on cue.
Let's find that inn first,
Rarity suggested, starting to walk down the road.
I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted.
Wait up, Twilight exclaimed, glancing at her friend. Did you hear what some of those ponies were saying in the bar?
Like what?
I heard it all screaming and yelling, but that's about it.
One of them said,
Put them back into their graves, Twilight mulled. Do they mean the dead land?
the what land?
Rarity asked, turning to Twilight. When I talked to the blacksmith when we arrived, he somehow stated about how the eternal winter started. He said it was punishment for the dead land. I thought it was a sort of strange myth, but I think that perhaps there's something to it. After all, every pony thought Nightmare Moon was just a buzz of strange ramblings, right?
Do you think he said that because he was close to that snaring point?
I don't think so. It sounds like it was just as odd as the Silver Sign would say if he saw us. Thought, when we passed that point, it became a carrot mess.
What do you think this has to do with us?
Rarity asked, as the sign for the inn swung in front of them on a metal pole above the door.
I don't know yet, but it must have something to do with these demons they keep talking about here.
Twilight pushed open the door and went inside. The atmosphere in the inn bore a striking resemblance to the one they had stayed in the night before.
We'll talk about it later.
Rarity nodded, paying for the 3 gold for the room. She grabbed the key and went up to the stairs to the upper floor and entered a dark, chilly room. They dropped their bags to the floor before Twilight lit the hearth, filling the room with much needed light and warmth.
The element of magic could do great help to us here,
Rarity said, fluffing the pillows.
Could you imagine? Maybe you could even turn back time. We would be able to find Applejack without missing a single minute.
Twilight sighed.
Unless I can find a way to reroute the access energy back to the element, I'm basically a walking magical time bomb, Rarity. Oh, well, so you can figure a way out, darling.
Rarity stretched herself over her cloak before climbing into bed, carefully inching her way into the sheets.
We need to get some rest. I was going to take a look at that book before we did anything else. If I can rearrange the words, I could. Tomorrow, Twilight. We still have to look for Applejack, remember?
Rarity said before closing her eyes.
Let's try to get some sleep.
Don't worry about me, Twilight said, in a reassuring tone. I'll see if Rarity nodded off. She grabbed the old text from her backpack and set it carefully on the floor. Magically, she turned the pages one at a time, what caused us not to rip the already aged book. The words were arranged in an unusual side, with the outdated words and phrases littered out. Twilight grabbed a quill and ink from the nightstand and pulled out a parchment scroll. She began transcribing the words at the back of the scroll, only for what appeared at a quick glance through important pages. She worked down on the ground, and the invisible goers descended like locusts on the quiet street, yelling and stammering as they did. She worked until the quiet once more, burying her nose in the book, describing each sentence as well as she could. As the flames died down to but a bare flicker of light, Twilight held up the full parchment and began to piece them into something intelligible.
Among the wooded groves and flower-laden fields,
the ponies of the cast trotted down the silent road. The Venetian lord drifted his crimson silk, followed by a trolley of sharpened steel and magical parchment. To his side a cloaked figure walked, standing upright and towered above the rest. It was right, but he bore an ivory staff with his voice low and grave, his skin peached, long hair and gray. He walked along the king, and they spoke of war. I'm not gonna lie. When I decided to do some of these unfinished fics just for the sole purpose of, finishing them and offering my ideas of how each story ended or how each story was going to come to their conclusion, I mainly was doing this as a way to help me think, as a creative exercise, and I thought it would be entertaining to you. After all, I gotta keep these creative juices going somehow, and it's fun. And, for the most part, I've been successful with each one. And now we come to this. I'm not gonna lie. This one is this close to even having me stumped. I mean, look at all these shifts and changes and wraparounds and all these things that happen in this story. I have a feeling that if this thing were to have finished or to have continued, this would have been an epic for the ages. Probably one of the best Pokemon and anything crossovers in existence. But as it stands incomplete, cancelled before its time. And the only two things I can do now is, one, offer my review, and two, tell you what I think happens. And I gotta admit, this story has been fantastic! All the girls are in character. Although, sometimes I wonder if they're not going a little too far with the Twilight fear thing and making her just a little bit too weak. I mean, going to movie length, I'm fine with. You know, seeing an unbeatable foe, and Twilight losing all of her edges and all of her abilities and her plans, that I'm okay with. Seeing something that could take away her magic and making her weak, that I'm fine with. But all this extra bit just feels like it's going too far OOC and really feels like it was only there for uselessness. Rarity's been in character, and I gotta say, this chapter, she was on fire, baby! Being noble and resilient, being sleek and kind, and being slender, and being noble and being exquisite, and going for the finer things in life. Applejack was in character, but I also feel like she was slowly descending into hanger-on territory. Maybe that would have changed in the later chapters, I don't know. But as it stands, Applejack felt very much like she was just there to say, "Howdy, y'all, I'm Applejack, bad toodles." Kind of like the movie, actually. On the other side of things, on the Pokemon side, everybody was in character there as well. Especially Fluttershy. I love how Fluttershy was befriending each Pokemon to capture them, using her own skills and inner strength. And of course, feeling horrible that she had the idea to fight. I'm not always the one to be okay with Fluttershy being extra scared or extra cowardly, but in this case, it worked well to the plot, as Fluttershy, when dealing with animals, would have no problem. But the idea of sending these little guys to fight is, something she couldn't handle because, let's face it, she doesn't want to. She's very much a pacifist character and would never dream of sending these guys out, even if they do technically enjoy it and have a lot of blast doing it because, according to Pokemon lore, this is just training for them. They like it. It's just a sparring match and they like to see who's stronger. That's why gym badges are so important. I liked how Rainbow Dash's character was growing, changing, and who knows, maybe she even might have started to become a rivalry character. Pinky at times, though, did feel like she was a hanger-on, but in the later chapters, she started building up her character and showing off what she could do, befriending all these extra characters. I like the idea of the analogs, and I also like the idea of it being a blueprint. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe the writer was going for an interesting twist. You see, remember one of my big complaints earlier with My Little Pirates? That it was just Luffy and Equestria! And not much else. We went through the entire Impel Down arc. And here we have Fluttershy going into Hoenn. However, due to her personality and her character, she's changing things. This is making mistakes within the system. This is almost a commentary on what happens if you put a character into a fic and you're the type of person who wants them to stick strictly to the episode. And instead, have Fluttershy act like herself. And going against the whole entire just repeat the series like normal. I find it quite interesting. I also like the other side of things. The whole war aspect, everything. My main complaint here then is that it was feeling less like a Pokemon crossover and more like the Immortal Game Redux. I'm not complaining, but I kind of wish there was a balance here between the really cool serious war scenes versus the serious Pokemon moments. It felt like there was this split, and it felt like one was becoming darker than the other. but the story was still awesome. Now, now, I do have some ideas as to how the story is going to play out. When it comes to the Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie Pie stuff, I can imagine their journey continues to take them further. They're gaining new Pokemon, gaining new experiences. Along the way, we find out what the blueprint in Spark means. That this world that they're in is a simulation world. It is the world of the video game. The blueprint is whoever the person who starts playing the game is. You know, the person who always puts their personality into their character and making up their own story, especially when it comes to Pokemon. I mean, after all, we've all done that if we're playing Pokemon. You know, saying that this character that we're playing had some sort of long backstory because of things, and this is the reason why they're going on their Pokemon journey. The spark is something that helps motivate this change. Fluttershy happens to be that blueprint, and the world is bending to her will. The stallion in armor actually reveals himself to be somebody that Twilight fought in the future and sent him here, back on the other side of things. Throughout their journey, Rainbow Dash does start to become a little more jealous as Fluttershy starts not only gaining victories, but starts winning on her own. She doesn't want to admit, but there's a part of her that's starting to feel useless. She's used to protecting Fluttershy. She's used to being the hero, and she's used to helping others. But now that's being taken away from her. Well, pretty soon she starts training, and Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash meet up with Sarah in the final league tournament before facing off against the Hoenn League champion. Fluttershy makes many more battles and soon manages to go home. Only to go into the alternate universe. When they get home, they find Twilight with a big friggin' broadsword on her back. Purple wings extended as he pants, her massive tired out. Next to there is Applejack with an eye patch over her one eye, having only one good hoof left, having a metal hoof on her side, and her lasso frayed. And on the other side is Rarity, with a headband of an old friend and two crossbows. Rainbow Dash asked the first big question, "What the hey happened to you?" Twilight can only stare, before smiling and going, "It's a long story." And what a story it is. I can imagine that the war side of things involves huge psychic battles, and I can't help but wonder if Applejack actually got lost, led a workers' rebellion, and lost a foreleg. If only because that would be badass. Still, the story was pretty good. Join us next time as we present to you a haunting has happened. A scary noise is heard from inside Fluttershy's house. "No! Fluttershy! Stand back! No!" Echoing sounds of scream haunt Sunset Simmer's ears as he realizes that something bad has happened. Something horrifying. She goes to investigate. What horrors will she find there? Join us as Nightmare Night begins promptly with always the quiet ones. I'll see you then.